A baby is a person. Every person who has ever lived was once a baby. Ben Shapiro, King Charles III, Napoleon Bonaparte, the person who built your house, me. None of these people would have existed without spending the first few months of their life inside a pregnant woman. And I'm stating the obvious, but it's not evident in the language that we use at all. When people say, I don't want to have kids, or children are so much hard work, it sounds like they're discussing a lifestyle choice, like learning Portuguese or getting an air fryer. The way we talk about having children makes it sound like a slightly more advanced version of having a dog, but really, infancy only lasts for a few years. So if you have a baby, you have a baby for about a year, and then you have a toddler for a few years, and then a child for a few years, and then you've got a teenager living with you for a few years after that. And then for most of the rest of your life, you've just got an adult in your family. There's another person out there who was once your child, who is now just a fully autonomous adult who screens your phone calls when you try and call them on a Sunday. Even as a parent myself, I find it difficult to comprehend how it's possible for one carefree roll in the hay to directly result in the creation of a life just as complex and rich as my own. In fact, the life that I've created is somehow even larger than the life that I have lived up to this point, since my children may live up to 3 times longer than the 30 years I have lived on this planet so far. I've created people who are going to have experiences that I have not yet had myself. The anti-natalist philosophy discourages human reproduction in the name of preventing suffering. Babies do not ask to be born or give their consent to live in a world full of pain and difficulty, so the moral thing to do is to refrain from creating life altogether, according to the anti-natalists. While I disagree with this philosophy, I still give the anti-natalists credit for making the creation of life as significant as it deserves to be. These days there are a lot of people who shrug their shoulders and can't seem to comprehend why we prudes should care so much about protecting sex or about the decline in the quality of the dating scene. It's just sex, like it's just relationships, like why do you care so much? But sex is relationships, so relationships are the basis of having children, and children are, children, families. This is the basis of our entire society. This is the entire seeds that will grow into the future, the future of the country, the future of the world. Every culture on Earth values marriage and family and protects sexual activity with rituals, ceremonies, and taboos. That is, all cultures except the modern Western world. The sexual revolution detached sex from reproduction in ways that we still don't fully comprehend. Just one result of this cataclysm is how our culture now values parenthood, and specifically motherhood, or more accurately, how it does not. Feminists have long fought for women's accomplishments and capabilities outside of motherhood to be recognised. The idea that women's primary contribution to the world is gestating a fetus and changing nappies is now considered to be insulting and misogynistic. Women have minds too. Women have skills. Women can write emails and make spreadsheets and program microchips, and we can be doctors and lawyers and CEOs and engineers. In a world where women can do anything, being a mother now seems comparatively mundane and inconsequential. And these days, it doesn't have to be a all-or-nothing decision. Women can have it all, in theory. In practice, this means that the average age that women become mothers is rising, and the average number of children that women have is dwindling. I talked about that in my video called Population Collapse from a few weeks ago. After women have children, they often take maternity leave for up to a year, and maybe even take a sabbatical from work for longer than that. And they may return to work part-time when they do return.
You're a teacher? Part-time.
But this career break and reorganising of priorities shows up in statistics as what gets called the wage gap, and it's seen as a problem to be solved. The fact that women want to have children and they want to spend time with those children when they have them. But taking a much larger perspective on the economy in terms of looking generations from now, the creation of the next generation to have children is much more important than the few £1,000s a year that you'd make working in whatever job most women have. It's a really myopic way of looking at the economy, just to make women this economic unit and comparing them to men without any perspective on the economic value of the children that the women are raising. The really pathetic thing about all of this is that the jobs or the careers that most women have, which they consider to be of a similar priority to motherhood and parenthood, their jobs are not even very interesting or exciting. For every female astronaut, there are hundreds, if not thousands, of women working in sterile, alienating office jobs, sometimes called fake email jobs, derisively. Even the expression "to have it all" kind of undermines the importance or the significance of motherhood, as if having children is of a similar scale to having a career. Like, these are, like, you can have A or B, or you can have A and B, but I would argue that a woman who has children has it all. Like, she's the one who has it all. The job is just, your job or your career is just the money that you make to help to support those children. And I'm saying this as a woman who has a very creative and intellectually fulfilling career. I have traveled the world. I have seen over 9 countries across Europe and Asia. I have a bachelor's degree. I've stayed up late having interesting conversations with esoteric intellectuals. I have fallen head over heels in love with a brilliant and infuriating man. But none of these experiences can compare to the time I've spent with my children. If I had only one day left on Earth and the power to do with whatever I wanted, I would spend every minute of that day playing with my children and laughing at all the stupid things they think they have to say to me. And of course I only represent a single data point, and a sample of one does not make a compelling study, but I used to be one of those women who thought they were above motherhood, that I was destined for something greater in life. Before I had my own children, I never liked children or wanted to spend time with them. And I realise now how misguided my ideas were regarding motherhood, and how those ideas were directly influenced by the culture I was raised in and the media I was consuming. I know some people are going to think this sounds mad, but I cannot recall anything in entertainment or the education system or in my conversations with adults as when I was growing up that attempted to convey how significant motherhood is to a woman's life and to the wider community. I think we kind of take it for granted that women will have some kind of natural desire to want to be a mother, and that we don't need to tell them that it's important or that it's enjoyable. It's just nature, so we'll tell them that it's interesting and fun to be engineers and doctors and lawyers, and to go to university and to be educated and to travel the world, but we don't feel like we have to do the same thing for motherhood to make that seem like an interesting way to spend your time, an interesting thing to do with your life. I don't think that our culture actively promotes childlessness, even though some people are trying to restrict their reproduction for the sake of the environment. Mainly, I think people do still want to have children in the abstract, but there are just so many things you can do with your life when you don't have children. Things like having an extravagant lifestyle, having a really high-paying job, traveling the world, eating at fancy restaurants and having nice clothes. Even just having nice things in your home, expensive furniture. When you have children, they're going to destroy it. Like, you can't have these things in your life that convey social status if you have children. And so it's like a big cost to a lot of these things that are just superficial and shallow indicators of having a good life. So that even if people want to have children in the abstract, they keep putting it off because they want to keep hold of these things that are giving them social status that they're enjoying. Mothers as a group, as a status, being a mother does not give you any social credit. It doesn't make you more important, or It doesn't make you the object of envy of your peers. People aren't scrambling to talk to you at parties because you have a baby. Mothers are just ubiquitous. Everyone has a mother, literally. So it's not seen as anything special. Until the advent of reliable birth control, motherhood was just the default destiny for women, and it was practically inevitable. So motherhood just lacks any rarity or exclusivity. It's also completely non-scalable. Giving one-to-one personal care to another person the way that mothers do, you can't really do that with more than a few children at once. Whereas an Instagram model can have millions of followers who are praising and validating her, or a CEO can sell products to millions of customers. It's these same factors of rarity and scalability that make nurses and bin men far less celebrated than footballers and actors, even though it's obvious which of these jobs is more vital. I'm certainly not advocating that mothers should be treated like celebrities, although that might help. It's just not feasible to make mothers into these subjects of adoration simply for having their own children. Certainly their children will adore their mothers. It's one of the most intense ways that you can be loved as a human being is to have a child. And that's a very selfish reason to have children, but it's true. To a baby, the mother is the most fascinating, the most important thing in the whole universe. It's like by miles. The mother is the only thing in the universe that matters to a baby, and that's much more validating than getting likes on Instagram. I think we also have a problem of mothers being the object of pity. People who are trying to raise awareness of how difficult motherhood is. And it is exhausting, but the limitless supply of mums online who are talking about how difficult their life is, I don't think it's helping. The solutions that are suggested only ever seem to be that fathers should be taking on more housework and childcare, or that women should be paid more maternity leave, or that we should destigmatize mothers complaining about how awful their life is, when actually none of these solutions are actually addressing the real problem. The problem is not that motherhood is difficult or exhausting or slightly maddening or mundane. It can be all those things. The problem is that it's not acknowledged as important. If you commit your entire life to something that is difficult and important, you're basically a hero. Like, this is a really good way to spend your life. Doing something difficult is a really good way to spend your life if that difficult thing matters, if it's important. If you're doing something difficult that's just seen as a self-indulgence, like having a puppy, right? No one cares. You're just wasting your life. You're doing work for no reason. That's so much worse. As soon as motherhood became a choice, women who take that choice are just seen as bringing it on themselves. Like, oh, you've had these children for your own amusement, so yeah, it's difficult. Like, you chose this. I think when you take pity on people, even though that is sometimes the right thing to do, it lowers the status of that person. By taking pity on someone, you're putting them in a lower status than you. We should be raising the status of mothers, and thanking them and celebrating them for the hard work they're doing would be a lot more beneficial than they're just empty platitudes and saying, oh yeah, that must be difficult for you. Unless you're volunteering to babysit her children for her so she can have a bubble bath, just save it. We don't need your pity. I think it's childless women who should be pitied, honestly. I understand that there are women who are infertile or who have, for reasons not in their control, are not able to have children. And that doesn't mean I'm condemning those women, or even women who don't want to have children. I don't want to condemn that as a choice, as like a moral failing. But I do think that's sad. I think it's all right to feel sorry for those people who don't get to have you don't have that opportunity to have this wonderful part of their life.
Why can't she just have the things she wants?
Because it's not meant to be.
Emotional damage!
It's not that having children is the only contribution women can make, or that every single woman has to have children or have lots of children. But I just want to give motherhood the importance it deserves and to talk about it in a way that reflects that importance. I believe that motherhood is the most important aspect of a woman's life. If women who are mothers have been given a great blessing and they are doing something important that could have a legacy that lasts for generations. 10,000 years from now, our civilization may be buried under dirt and there may be no record that Elon Musk or Kim Kardashian ever existed, but the humans who are alive on the planet will all be the descendants of some of the women who have children today. Taking the widest perspective you possibly can on human achievement, I believe there is nothing greater than that. To be the ancestor of the people who will one day inhabit the earth, even have the opportunity to do that, is incredibly important, and I don't think there is a greater destiny than that, for women at least. Thank you very much for watching. I know I keep making videos about having children, but it feels like I'm just circling in on what I'm trying to say, and I keep trying to make like the perfect video about the subject. So thank you for your patience. I hope you're enjoying it. Do watch Whammon Hour on Fridays at 8:30 p.m. Have a good day and goodbye.